How's it going? I hope you're doing really well. We're going to talk about Arduino libraries today. We're going to talk about why you might want to use them, and we're just going to go ahead and install a couple. We're going to talk about some of the things that can mess up if you don't do a couple things when you're installing a library. So I'm doing this because a friend of mine, Roman, asked me to do it. He just emailed me and said, hey, I'm having some trouble with some libraries. Can you show me what the deal is? So, and as I looked into it, there are a couple things that really can kind of hold you up. So we're going to talk about those things too. All right, so here I am in the Arduino IDE, and maybe I was on the internet and I was looking around and it said, hey, you should use this library to do XYZ. Like maybe you want to run a matrix or something, and there's a library out there for running matrices, and you're like, okay, hey, I need that library. So the first thing you might want to do is check, do I already have, I'm getting ahead of myself. Well, what is a library? An Arduino library is just a group of functions that are packaged together that are similar. Okay, so there's a bunch of different functions. They all do the same kind of thing, like they run a 4x4 matrix, and then you package them together, and that's called a library. That's really it. That's it. And then a library makes it easy to share these functions with one another. So your Arduino IDE already comes with pre-installed libraries. So if you go up to Tools and you go to if you go to Sketch, you go to Import Library. Right here, this big list right here, these are libraries that are already installed on your Arduino IDE. So if you were to click, let's go ahead and click the servo. All right, so if I click servo, see how it adds that code right there? Include servo.h. That line of code right there is saying, hey, you want to look through the servo library before you go ahead and execute the rest of this code. Okay, that'll make sense here in a second, but that's when you go to Sketch, Import Library, all that's going to do is add a line of code to your sketch. Now, if you know the name of the library, you can type it in yourself right there. You don't need, that's all that really does. Now, notice down here I have contributed, and I have a couple libraries down here. So this first one, that is AF Motor, that's Adafruit Motor. So if you've ever heard of Adafruit, that's a company that makes hardware, stuff like that, open source hardware. And so I bought one of their things and I used one of the libraries they made with it. And Frequency Timer 2, I think that's also an Adafruit one, I'm not sure. So those are the two libraries that I have on this installation. So a contributed library is just a library that anybody else has written that doesn't come pre-packaged in your Arduino IDE. There's tons of them out there, and it's a really good idea before you start a project to start looking for libraries that might help you with a project. So let's say you wanted to interface with a certain piece of hardware. Maybe you have some temperature sensor. Well, and you're looking at it and you're like, man, this temperature sensor, this data sheet's like 40 pages long, and I'm not really sure I get this, and it's going to take me 4 years to figure this out. Well, get online and do a search for a library and that component name, like Arduino library / temperature sensor, and you might find like 40 people have written libraries for the specific temperature sensor, and essentially they've really done the work for you, and then all you have to do is kind of familiarize yourself with the library and get going from there. So libraries really help you kind of jumpstart your project. Okay, so highly recommend looking for libraries and using them. So let's go ahead now. Okay, so we've kind of looked at it, where the libraries are here, but now I want to show you what's in a library file folder. All right, and that might seem a little higher level, like what do I really care? Well, this is knowing what I'm about to show you is going to help you down the road when you start installing libraries. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and I'm going to navigate to where I have my Arduino installation. All right, so here's Arduino. You have this same folder on your computer. And now, see, these are all the sketches that I've written on this computer, okay? And in here, there is a folder called Libraries, and that is where all your library folders are. So here, look at this. Here's AF Motor. So remember when I was on the Arduino IDE, you saw AF Motor and Frequency Timer 2. So I'm going to go ahead and click here. And look, we've got a couple files in here. So we've got frequencytimer2.cpp and frequencytimer2.h. Okay, this file, that .cpp file, and this file, the .h file, are the two required files you're going to need to see in any Arduino library. Let me say that one more time. There's two mandatory must-have files, and one is going to end in .h and one is going to end in .cpp. All right, I think CPP stands for C++, and .h stands for header. Okay, so the header file is like a list of all the names of the function, and the .cpp file is the source code, or that's like the actual line-by-line programming of the functions. Okay, I'm not going to get nitty-gritty on what these are. It doesn't really matter. You just need to make sure that there's a .cpp and a .h file. Now, what you could also find in here is a keyword file, and that's a text document. And all that does is that, like, you know when you type in a function in Arduino and it turns a color, like it turns, digital read, I think, is orange. Well, this file defines different colors, so like you could set a keyword for the different functions. And then an examples folder that will allow you to have access to examples when you're in the Arduino IDE. So here's one. It says test, and there's test.pde. Okay, so let me show you where this is real quick. If we come to our Arduino IDE and we go to we go to File, Examples. See here, Frequency Timer 2. Do you see that? Here's an example of this library. Okay, so I hit test. Should open up a little folder. Yep, it opens up a thing here, and now here's a test. Here's an example of using this library. Okay, so most libraries have examples that come in them. All right, so here we are on this library folder. Now this is what I want to talk about here. Notice that there are several files in a library. So what that means, when somebody wants to deliver a library to you, it has to be, or it's most likely going to be in a zip file. Okay, because all a zip file does, I'm sure you're familiar with it, is it packages together a bunch of different file types in a cozy little blanket. Okay, so by necessity, every library that you download is going to be in a zip file. Now, I'm not trying to, pretend that you're ignorant. I'm sure you know what a zip file is, but I just want to talk through it real quick so we're both on the same page. So when you get a zip file, you're going to have to unzip it, and then it's going to have a folder, okay? And so when you download a library, generally when you unzip it, you're going to see a folder, and it's going to be the name of that library. So when I downloaded AF Motor, it was, afmotor.zip, and I unzipped it, and then it makes this folder, AF Motor, and then here's all these files in there, okay? So let's go ahead and just do an example, all right, of downloading and setting up a folder, or a library rather. So go to the Arduino webpage, go to Reference. Reference is my favorite page on the Arduino website, and let's click on the Libraries tab. Now I am going to go to this link here. It's called Tutorial on Writing Your Own Libraries. It's a really good tutorial. Now we're not going to talk about writing our own library, but what I want to do here is give you an example of a library that's made. Okay, so if you scroll down all the way down to the bottom, there's a library called morse.zip. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and it's going to ask me where do I want to save it. Notice that there's that .1. Okay, I've already downloaded this before, so I'm going to go ahead and save it under the name Morse. And whoops, I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. It'll ask me, yes, I do want to replace that. So it's downloaded, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to all my files. I'm going to find out where I had downloaded that. So it's let's see here, downloads, programs to install. Here's my file. Now this is what's important. So it doesn't matter where you save the zip file. Doesn't matter a bit. What matters is when you unzip that file, where the files go. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to show you how to do it from the Arduino IDE. So here there's morse.zip. We've downloaded it. So I'm going to go to my Arduino IDE, and I'm going to get rid of this here. I don't want that. I'm going to go up to Tools. Sketch, Import Library, and see it says Add Library. So I'm going to go Add Library. And now I'm going to navigate to where I just downloaded that. All right, so let's see, downloads, programs to install, and I'm going to look for Morse. I'm going to kind of navigate. There's morse.zip. It's a zip file, and now I'm going to say choose. And look down here. It says library added to your libraries. Okay, so now I'm going to go up here to Sketch, Import Library, and now I'm going to look down here. Hey, look at that, contributed. There's Morse. So it just added it. So when I click this, all it does is it adds that little include morse.h, okay, and that's the header file, and that basically allows the program to access that library now when you compile this code. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Arduino, the Arduino file folder at Morse, and take a look at what that is. So documents, programmer, Arduino. Okay, let's come down to the library folder. Okay, everybody's going to have a libraries folder in their Arduino installation. And there it is. Hey, there's Morse. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this and look at this. There's those two files that you had to have, morse.cpp or morse.cpp and morse.h, and they've got some examples. All right, there's SOS, and then there's a keywords. Okay, so just basically what happened when I used the Arduino way to do this, or the built-in thing, I go to Tools and Import Library, and I hit Add Library. What it's going to do is you're going to point it to the zip file that you download, and then behind the scenes, Arduino is going to unzip that file, and it's going to put it in the libraries folder in your Arduino directory. Okay, so you need to know where your Arduino directory is on your computer. It should be pretty easy. Just find out where the Arduino folder is. All your sketches are going to be in there, like mine, remember? So I'll just open this up one more time just in case. So I happen to have it in my documents for some particular reason. And see, here's my Arduino folder. Here's all the sketches that I ever write. They get saved in folders. And then in here, you are going to find a libraries folder. And then this is where all your libraries, the individual folders for your libraries end up being. So now let's talk about some issues we can run into. And I'm going to talk about it right here first. This is what issue you can run into at times. The name of the .cp file, the .h file, and the folder all need to be the same. So see how this is Morse, the name of that folder is Morse, and the name of .cp is Morse, and the name of .h is Morse. Those all have to be the same. Let's go into AF motor. Notice this, AF motor, and then the folder's name is AF motor. Frequency timer, 2. Look, they're all the same. Frequency timer 2, frequency timer 2.cpp, frequency timer 2.h. It is absolutely necessary that all of those names are the exact same. So let's give a real life example of where this becomes an issue. Okay, so let's go back to the Arduino website. I'm going to go to the home page here. Actually, you know what, I can search right here. And this is one that Roman had mentioned. So I'm just going to go to search for timer 1. And let's click on this, timer 1. And here is a library. It talks about a library, timer 3. All right, here it is. Timer 1 Google Code download. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. And here I am. It takes me to a code repository that Google has. Okay. And look, there's 2 different zip files. All right. So here I'm already at a point where I'm like, wait a sec. Well, which one do I get? That kind of was weird. Like, which one do I want to take? Well, if you read the name, one is called V9 and one is called R11. So I'm guessing V9 stands for version 9 and R11 stands for revision 11. All right, so there's really no similar naming convention there. That makes you wonder, like, well, what's the deal? And I could be completely wrong about what V9 and R11 stand for, or you could look at like the release date. So this one was February of 2012. This one's October. So the most recent one is in October. So no, another thing you could look at is here's the download count. This one, man, this one's been downloaded a lot. This one, not so much. So maybe this one is the more popular one. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go with timer 1. So I'm just going to click on it, and it's going to ask me it's going to take me here, and now I want to download that. All right, I'll just click this download. So it's going to ask me, where do I want to download it? You'll notice I've already downloaded it. I'm going to name it this right here. So timer 1-R11, and I'll hit, save that. Okay. Now what I will do is, so I've saved it, all right? So let's go ahead and go into Arduino and see what happens when I try to import that library. So I'm going to go to Tools, Sketch, Import Library, Add Library. Now I'm going to navigate to where I did that. So I will go to where I downloaded that library. Here's Downloads. And I'm trying to remember what the name of that library was that I just installed. It was timer 1, that's right. Okay, timer 1. All right, so I'm going to choose that library. Oh, hey, what's this? I get a little caution down here. It says the library timer1.rr cannot be used. Library names must contain only basic letters and numbers, ASCII only, and no spaces. It cannot start with a number. So there is a problem with the naming convention of this library. So if I come up, let's just verify. If I come to Sketch, Import Library, notice that it didn't get added here. So what we need to do, so this is actually a pretty common problem. So this is what we need to do. Let's go find out where we downloaded that file. Downloads, programs to install, timer 1. All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to open this file with my archive utility. In Windows it'd be like WinZip probably. Okay, I'm going to click on this and it's going to expand it out right there. Okay, so notice that. Look, I've got examples.cp and timer.h. Okay, so here's all the files right here. Here's the examples, and here's that collective folder that those are all in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy that, all right, and I'm going to put it in my Arduino directory. So I'm going to come to where my Arduino installation is. So I go to Documents, Programmer, Arduino. I'm going to come down to that Libraries folder. Okay, here's the Libraries folder, and now I'm going to paste that item. So here's timer 1. Hey, it's all in here. But wait a second. Did you notice what the issue is? Look, these do not match. That folder name and those names, the .cp and the .cpp and the .h file, they are not the same name. So let me change the name of this folder to timer.1, or just timer 1. Now they all match, don't they? Hey, that's easy enough. I mean, that was nothing crazy. I just made sure that all those files were the same name. I could name this, you know, Arduino 123, or I could name it timer 42. It doesn't really matter as long as it's the same name. Okay, so that is taken care of. So now let's go ahead. Here's our Arduino IDE, and I just want to show you something real quick. If I go to Sketch, Import Library, notice that it's not under contributed. It did not get added here. The reason that is we have to restart Arduino. So I'm going to go ahead and quit Arduino. I don't need to save that. And I will go ahead and open up the Arduino IDE again. And now let's go to Sketch, Import Library, and there it is. Look at that. Timer 1. Now it got added. Okay, so here's timer 1, and again, all it does is say it includes timer 1. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the example. Examples, timer 1, read receiver. So here's an example of the read receiver. And you know, if we wanted to use this, it could be installed. So that's basically how you install a library. Okay, so there's two ways to do it. The first way is you just go to Sketch, Import Library, Add Library. All right, and then you navigate to the zip file that you downloaded for that library, and then Arduino behind the scenes is going to automatically pull that, or it's going to unzip that file, and it's going to put it in your libraries folder. So there's option 1. Option 2 is you download that zip file, you locate it on your own, you know, you find out where you installed it, you unzip it, you know, and then you copy that folder, and then you yourself move that folder over to wherever you have your Arduino installation at. Again, in the Arduino installation, it's just going to say Arduino, and you know, you've come down to the libraries folder, which you will have, and then you just paste it in there yourself. And then you just got to make sure that those names are the same. And that's really how to set up a library. I mean, it's that easy. Okay, now using the library is something a little different. We can talk about that later. But that's kind of getting a library set up. So that's that. Now, one quick thing I'll show you real quick here. If you're wondering where your Arduino installation is set up, maybe you don't happen to know. If you go to File and if you go to Arduino Preferences, this is going to show you where you need to go. So mine is Users, my name, Documents, Programmer, Arduino. Okay, so this is going to tell you the file path to where that Arduino folder is that we just talked about. And if you hit browse, it'll take you right there. Okay, so you can find it easily if you don't happen to know off the top of your head. Okay, well, that is that. I hope that was helpful. And I'm going to be doing a lot more of these in this coming year. So if you have a question about Arduino, shoot me an email. Go to the website. It's opensourcehardwaregroup.com. Go to the website. You should definitely sign up for the course, the Arduino course, if you haven't yet. It's a free course. It'll get you spun up on Arduino. Sign up for that there. You can get my contact information. Send me an email if you have a specific question, and I'll do my best to make a tutorial. Hopefully it will be helpful. All right, have a great day, and take it easy. Bye.